Okie dokie, people. Here we are for round 2. Talking about translation this go round. If you have not seen part 1, make sure you see part 1. Part 1 is where we talk about coordinate sets, okay? You got to be very, very comfortable with coordinate sets, okay? Very comfortable. So if you have not seen that video, go back and see it. Work the problems. Do not watch the whole video. Watch the first few minutes of the video, then try to work the problems as the video goes on. Pause it, work the problems. That's where all the gains come from. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. That's classic YouTube lingo. But no, if you're seeing this and you need extra help with that, make sure to come by and see us. You already know what the deal is. The room is here, Monday through Thursday, 1st through 6th period. We're ready to help you out. So please bring it on. Come from PE, ask your elective teacher, ask your core teacher, finish your work first. All right, with further ado, let's get started. So in the last video, we talked about shapes, how there can be a shape where you started, and then there could be a shape where you end. And we talked about how the way you show where you ended is this little mark here called a prime mark. So for the rest of this video, we're going to be talking about where the shape started and what about it is different in where it ended, okay? If you're ever unsure where it started, it's the one that's just regular letters. These right here, regular letters. And where it ended is denoted by this mark here. It's called a prime mark, this little dashy line thing. This dashy line thing here means that is where you ended, okay? You gotta remember that. You need that just to survive out here, okay? All right, great. Here we go. All right, so fine. Let's pick up where we left off in the last video, just like I promised you. Translation is what we're talking about in this video. So translation, there's a few things to remember about it. First of all, and let's zoom in here. Let's take a few notes on this. For translation, the first thing to note is that the shape has to be the same size. Okay? We cannot have this shape right here turn into this and call it a translation. This would not be a translation, okay? Why? It is not the same size, okay? This is made of 4 squares and this is made of 12, okay? This would not be translation, all right? So it's got to be the same size. The other thing to remember about translation is that it has got to be in the same order. Okay, it's got to be in the same size and the same order. So this goes A, B, C, D in that exact order. See? All right? Can you see how you go from A to B, B to C, C to D, and then D back to A? And notice in this one we go A to B, B to C, C to D, and D back to A. Here's an example of what it would be like if it were not in the exact same order. Okay? Wait, let's do this in a different color here. Okay? Notice this one right here does not go in the same order. It goes from D to C to B to A and then back to D. This is not the same order because in this one we go from D to A, but in this one goes A to D. Notice this one goes A to B, but this one goes D to C. That is not the same order. And even though they're both made of 3, 6, 9, 12 squares inside, so they're the same size, but they are not the same order. So this right here is not a translation, okay? take a minute and pause right here if you need to absorb all that. For it to be translation, they must be the same size and order, okay? This one is not a translation because it's in a different order. And this one is not translation right here because it's a different size. Okay? Pause here if you need to absorb that. And if not, rewind the video until it sort of makes sense. Okay? All right. Let's get rid of all this. Remember, if you need to see that again, make sure to rewind it. But I'm getting it out of our way so that we can continue working. Okay? All right. All right. So now let's have a look at this one, okay? This is a translation. Translation is when you move a shape and keep the exact same size and the exact same order, but you moved it. So we moved this box over here. How do you know you moved this box down here, Mike? Because remember, we show that with this here symbol right here, that this is in the future, this is what happened after the fact, okay? This is a translation. They are the same size. Notice they have 12 boxes inside. They both have 12 boxes. And they're in the exact same order. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. Okay? Same order, same size, just move to a different place. That is translation. All right? Now, what we're going to talk about is how to show what a translation is with algebraic terms. And I was really scared to say like all those big words because it's like, oh God, no, let's go. It'll be okay. Hang in there. All right. What we need to do now is label each of these points like we did in the first video. So go ahead and pause here and label these points. All right. Do not watch me label points. This is a good time for you to practice labeling your points again. If you don't know how to do it, pause this video here, open another tab, open the first video, and learn how to label points. Then come back here and label these points. Do not watch me label these points. Label them yourself first. This is good practice. Right? All right, fine. So let's label it. Let's go. Oh, yeah, pause me if you haven't. All right, here comes the answer. All right, so we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. So this one should be -5. And then we need to go down 1, 2. So we need to go down 2. So it's -5, -2 for this first point. Let's do it in a font that's a little easier to see. Okay. All right. Everybody see how we got there? We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we went down 1, 2. Okay. All right. Now let's label our next point. It should be -5. And we have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so -5, -5. Let's clean that up. That's a little unclear. All right, let's label our next point. And if you labeled them in a different order, that's okay too. You can wait until I show all of it. Let's go to the left one, so that's -1. And then let's go down 1, 2. So that's -1, -2. And then let's label our last point. We have to go to the left one again, so -1. And then we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5. All right? Those are our 4 points for the second shape. Okay? Let me move this stuff out of our way, and I'm going to show you what you can do with this. Because many of you have had questions on how this works. And so let me just get us set up where it's easy for us to do. Up, huh? All right. What I'd like you to do is take each of your points and then just write them out here. So A was 1, 5. B was 5, 5. And if you're wondering, I got it from here, okay? All right. C was 5, 2, and D was 1, 2. Okay? Now I'm going to write out what we did on our prime ones. So let's do that. Let's go A prime. Oh, that's hard to see. Let's go A prime is -5, -2. B prime was -1, -2. C prime was -1, -5. And D prime was -5, -5. All right? Now you got your points labeled, okay? When your points are labeled, you can do a lot of cool things, all right? Remember that translation, and before I go on, I want you to remember, when you're doing this, please label your stuff like this out to the side. You can do it over here in the graph first, but please come out to the side and write it out like this. I'll show you why in a second, okay? But write it out. It's a little extra work to save you a lot of confusion and to give you a lot of confidence, okay? All right, so fine. Remember that for translation, we're moving shapes, okay? So we moved this box right here, okay? Let's get rid of some of this clutter. Feels like it's kind of clogging us up. Remember that we moved this box right here down. Again, let's move some of this, get some of this stuff out of the way so it's less clutter. Clutter matters. It clutters your mind. Free up your mind so you can think a little better. Okay, we moved this box here down here. Okay, can you see that? We moved this box up here down here. So our job now is to tell in numbers how many spaces that moved for both X and Y. Let me show you a really good way to do this. I'll show you another way to do it, but I want you to learn this way first because it gets more done. I want you to learn some easy way first. Let's learn it the right way. Or not the right way, but let's learn it a really effective way where you can get more in one shot. This 1 in the first box, so this 1 here, the 1, 5, tell me how you got this 1 to turn into a -5. How would you get a 1 to turn into -5? Okay, by adding and subtracting. Tell me how you do that. And the reason you're going to tell me by adding and subtracting is because we did not change the shape of the box, we only moved it. Since we only moved it, you can add numbers or take numbers away in order to get it to move around. So tell me, for the X value, the first coordinate here, all right, how did you get that X coordinate of 1 to turn into an X coordinate of -5? Did you have to add or subtract to do that? Okay, hopefully you can see that you had to subtract. To go from 1 to -5, you gotta subtract. What do you subtract in order to go from 1 to -5? Okay, you subtract 6. Hopefully you can see that. All right, now Mike, why are you comparing the first one? So why are we talking about the first one to the second one? Well, remember we talked about at the start that this regular A is what happened first, and this A with the prime is what happened second. That's why we're comparing the first and the second one, okay? So, how do you go from 1 in X to -5? And we already said it, you subtract 6. Good job. Now, my second question, let's figure out how you went from 5 in Y to -2. So how did you go from a 5 to a -2? Would you add or subtract? Okay, take a minute. Okay, hopefully you said you subtract, all right? So fine, you have to subtract to go from 5 to -2. What do you subtract to go from 5 to -2? Okay, hopefully you see it. You have to subtract 7. If you subtract 7, if you go 5 minus 7, you end up with negative 2. If you go 1 minus 6, you get negative 5. Okay? So for the x, you had to subtract 6. So the algebraic representation for this is x minus 6. Because you have to take the x of the original and subtract 6 from it to get this. And the algebraic representation for your y was y minus 7. Because you had to take the original y and subtract 7 from it to get negative 2. The way you write this is x minus 6, comma, y minus 7. That's the algebraic representation of this translation. Okay? Algebraic, meaning including the letters. Representation, as in this represents what happened here. Algebraic representation of this translation, because we're telling the viewer that this was a translation. It's the same shape, it's in the same order, it's the same size and the same order, but in a different place. So we represent that by telling it how many times and what direction it moved for x. It looks like it moved to the left for x. You can tell that because there's a minus 6 here. Remember, for x, if you subtract it, you go left. And you can tell that we went down because we went minus 7 from the y. Okay? And this is comparing it to the original. So from the original x, you subtract 6 from everything. And from the original y's, you subtract 7 from everything. Let's see if that's true for all of these. In the original one, you had a 5. If you subtract 6, you should be at negative 1. Aha! In the original one, you had a y of 5. And if you subtract 7, you should get negative 2. Aha! In the original one, you had 5. And if you subtract 6, you should have negative 1. And in the original one, you had 2. And if you subtract 7, you should get negative 5. And the original one, if you had 1, you subtract 6, you should have negative 5. And the original one, if you had 2, if you subtract 7, you should have negative 5. So notice how this formula right here is true for all of the points. That is why you have this bad boy right here. It can tell you what the points would be for any of the future moves of this box, given the original points. Alright? Or any of this specific move for the box. Okay? So the answer to this one, if we're doing an algebraic representation, is x minus 6, y minus 7. Let's have a look at the graph and just see what that means. It means we started here and we took this whole thing and moved it. X minus 6 is what direction? Minus 6 is what direction on the x? To the right or to the left? Hopefully you know that negative on the x-axis is to the left. So you had to move this whole box this way. Okay? And look, we did move it that way. Okay? Because it's down here. And then this says to move it down 7. So you had to move the box to the left first. And then you had to move the box down 7. And we know that's true because we just did the math on it. We proved it was true right here. That's why this representation is accurate, and that's how you get there. Okay? Sometimes you'll have instructions that say to write it down as a direction. So let's do that real quick. You go left 6, and you go down 7. And always remember that when you're talking about y, you'll be talking about either up or down. And when you talk about x, you'll be talking about either left or right. Okay? And then you just put whatever the units are. Okay? If it's negative for x, it's going to be left. If it's positive for x, it's going to be right. If it's negative for and here, let me erase this and just write some of this out. If it's negative x or minus x, it's going to be left. positive x, should be plus, and this would be right. And if it's negative for y, then it would be down. And if it is up for y, then it will, oh, sorry, my brain is getting ahead of me. If it's positive for y, then you go up, okay? All right, let's work another one. On this one, we're going to take a shape, all right? It's going to be a translation. I'm not worried about your ability to tell if it's a translation or not. Ultimately, people can figure that out. They really struggle with the algebra, so I'm starting with what they struggle with, okay? I'm gonna start with the hard stuff, and then we'll come back and get the, can you recognize this is even a translation, okay? You can go ahead and know that the ones I'm drawing is a translation, because I want you to learn this first, and then we can go backwards and make sure you know to check the size and the order and all that. That's pretty easy. All right. Here we go. Alright, and then let's do a different color here. Sure, why not? Alrighty. Alright, here we go. Alright, so let me go ahead and label this. Let's do A, B, C, D, and then let's do A, B, C, D prime, okay? We'll work this one together, and then we're going to go to a worksheet and work a couple of these, okay? Alright, fine. So let's start with our beginnings. Let's label our points first, okay? Now, some of you are probably already being smart and going ahead and just putting your A, B, C, D like this, okay? I recommend that. Go ahead. It'll save you work. So go ahead and put out your points over here because we already know we're going to list out the coordinates for each. All right? And then y'all go ahead and pause me here and go ahead and try to write the coordinates for each of these boxes, okay? Remember that the one with the prime on it is the one that's in the future. So your prime for this is here. This one's in the future. All right, and that the one that you started with is over here. It's the one that doesn't have a prime on it, okay? All right, so let's label the points for both. Go ahead and pause me here if you haven't, because you need to practice this. The only way to gain confidence is to practice. That's why we call them practice pass. It is the source of the grades, a source of strength, a source of confidence. Alrighty. Final warning before I show you how to work this. Alright, here we go. Alright, so for my first point, I know that I need to go over to the right one, and then I need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my first point is 1, 5. Okay? If you have not paused me yet, go ahead and pause me, because I'm going to kind of fly through the rest of these points so that you don't hear me counting out points all day, okay? Alright. For B, you should have 3, 5. For C, you should have 1, 1. And for D, you should have 3, 1. Okay? All right. Now let's look at our A prime. For your next one, you should have 5, 1. Or sorry, not 5, 1. For A prime, you should have 5, 5. And let me count that here. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. All right, so 5, 5 for A prime. Okay, and then let's do B prime should be at the same height, so I already know it's going to be 5. And I just have to go over 2 more, so this should be 7, 5. Let me make sure that's right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, sir. Okay, so if I go over 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're at 7, 5. Okay. For C, C prime, we should be at 5, 1. And for D prime, we should be at 7, 1. All right. Hopefully you got the coordinates for these simply by counting. If some of you saw that they were the same height and just copy stuff over, great. But as long as you got these points, these are the points, and you know how to get those points, then we are Gucci to continue. If not, rewind the video back and take another swing at it and see if you can get those points, okay? If you're struggling with that, go back to the first video so you can learn how to get points first, because that's very important. All right, fine. So let's take our first coordinate point here, 1, and compare it to the first coordinate point of the prime, because I'm trying to figure out what happened to the x. How did we go from 1 to 5? I'm trying to figure that out, because remember, this is in the past, and your prime is in the future. So we're trying to answer the question, what happened here? What happened? Okay, so fine. How do you take a 1 and make it into a 5? Since it's a translation, because these are the same order and the same size, different spot. So this is a translation. Since it's a translation, all we did was move it. So how much did we move the x? How much did we move it? How do you go from a 1 to a 5? All right, looks like you would have to go plus 4. And since that's the first coordinate, you know what the first coordinate in a coordinate set is? It is x. So this is x plus 4 for the first one, okay? Because you take 4 and add it to whatever the x is, and you'll get the new x. Let's see if that holds true for the rest of them. If you take whatever the first x is and add 4 to it, do you end up with what happened? So 4 plus 3 is 7. Yep. If you take the first x and add 4 to it, so 1, add 4 to it, 5. If you take the first x and add 4 to it, do you end up with what happened? 3 plus 4, 7. Got it? So x plus 4 is the algebraic representation for this translation. Now let's figure out the y. Okay? How do you go from a 5 to a 5? Remember, this is a translation, so you're just adding or subtracting. How do you go from a 5 to a 5? And hopefully you said plus 0. Okay? Now some of you might have said times 1, but remember, we're not doing times because translations is just adding and subtracting. Because you're just moving left or right, up or down. And if you're just moving around, it's either plus or minus. Okay? Times is for a different type of transformation, so we're not doing times here. Okay? All right, so fine. We only do times if we change the size. We're not doing that here. All right, so fine. This should be plus 0. So the formula for this is y plus 0. Okay? So let's write our final formula. Our algebraic representation for this translation should be x plus 4, comma, y plus 0. But Mike, why are you writing it like that? Because remember, we always write our coordinates like in a pair like this, where the first number is x and the second number is y. Yeah, but Mike, why are you writing the plus 4 and the plus 0? Because we're talking about what happened here. So in the first one, it's xy, and in the second one, it's x plus 4, y plus 0. Because we didn't move y at all. Notice in here, the y's all stayed the same. And for all the x's, we added 4, which we already proved. We already proved that in the earlier, okay? Remember that? It's right here. Okay? That's why. And so when you're talking about an algebraic representation of some type of transformation, in this case a translation, you usually just show just the changed one. It's already assumed that the first one is xy. So you don't usually have to write the first thing is, you know, x, y, and then x plus 4, y plus 0. You don't usually have to do that. You're usually okay just to write, you know, the changed one, because it's assumed the first one's x, y, okay? If what I just said was just like, just then, just kind of like, huh, what? Ignore it, okay? If you understand how we got here, then you're doing fine, okay? All right, the other tidbit was for those of you who wanted a little bit more, because it's important that everybody gets what they need. Differentiation. Okay, now, x plus 4, y plus 0. Another way you could write this is x plus 4, comma, y. Okay, because y plus 0 is just y. So either of these is okay. I do not think your teacher will be upset with you if you write it one way or the other. Okay, because both of these are accurate. You know, you could argue that plus 0 is the same thing as minus 0. It's still nothing. And because it's nothing, you can write it just as a y. But if it just feels better to keep some type of sign out there, because for most of them, you're going to have a sign out there, that's okay too. All right, I'm not mad at it if you just leave a, you know, if you just do a plus 0. But if you want to take it off, that's fine. So both of these are okay. All right. Now, let's try a few more. If you're not sure how we got this far, you need to rewind the video and have a look at it, because now I'm going to go fast. I'm going to give you like 4 other practice problems, and it's very important you work each one, because since I'm not giving a whole bunch of these, because we're approaching 31 minutes, I don't want these videos to be too long, all right? We've got to blitz these 4 problems, which means you have less practice. So you need to use every single opportunity you have. So please, rewind the video if you don't understand how we got this, so that when you do these next 4, it can truly be you. Please do not watch me work the next 4. Work them one at a time, and then watch to see if you got it right. Okay? Here we go. Let's make our first shape. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and make our next shape. All right, let me go ahead and get it labeled here for you. Okay, there's your first problem. Go ahead and work that out. Okay, go ahead and work that out. All right, if you here, let me just shade it in here just so it looks prettier. Pause it, work that out. Remember that what you're doing is you're going to be labeling your points. Remember, I recommend you go ahead and come out here to the side, write your D, E, F, G, and then write your D prime, E prime, F prime, G prime. Okay, work that out first. Remember, your steps are label your points, find the difference between the points, write, wow, I just wrote the word right, write your formula, and then write it in directions too. So, you know, say either, you know, left 10, right 5. Or sorry, not left 10. It wouldn't be left 10, right 5. It would be like left 10, up 5, or whatever it may be. Okay. Alrighty. Go ahead and give this a try. So let me here, just in case you're still here and haven't paused me yet. Your final answer should be looking like x plus something, y, or you know, x plus or minus something, y plus or minus something. I don't know what it's going to be yet. And then you should say left or right something, up or down something. Okay, it should look very similar to what we did here. Okay, this is what I want your final answer to look like. Okay, x plus or minus something, y plus or minus something, left plus or minus something, you know, or right, down or up something. Okay. Alrighty, here's your problem. Pause me here if you haven't already. Okay, and if you just realized that you had worked it out but didn't do the left, up, or down, go ahead and pause me so you have a chance at this, okay? Alright, here we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is label my points, all right? So let's go, we're going -3, and then we're going down 1. For E, we're going to go -3 again, and except this time we're going to go down 5. For F, we're going to go to the right 2, 1, 2. Interesting. And we're going to go down 5, okay? And for G, we're going to go again to the right 2, and we're going to go down 1. All right? And here, let me show you where that is. So G's here, F here, E here, D here, okay? All right, remember, if you're struggling with labeling, go back to the first video, okay? All right, for D prime, looks like we should be at 1, and then we should go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 5. For E prime, we should be at 1, and then up 1. For F prime, we should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, and up 1. And for G prime, we should be at 6, and up 5. Okay? Alrighty, these are our points. So now remember, we're trying to figure out what happened. Okay? So how did we go from here, the original one, to this one, the one in the future? Okay, how did we do that? Let's find out. Alright, I'm going to start with X. How do you go from -3 to 1, just adding and subtracting? So do you have to add to get from -3 to 1, or do you have to subtract? Alright, hopefully you found that you had to add to go from -3 to a +1. And the question is, how many do you have to add? Okay, so you should have to add +4 to go from an x of -3 to an x of 1. You have to add 4 to it. Let's see if that proves true for every single point, because it must for translation. So if you add 4 to -3, do you get 1? Yes. If you add 4, remember we're getting that from here. If you add 4 to 2, do you get 6? Yes. If you add 4 to 2, do you get 6? That would be a yes. All right? So this part is good to go. Our x plus 4 is indeed the x part of this. Now let's get the y part of this. How do you go from a -1 to a +5? Okay? All right? Hopefully you at least got that you had to add something, because you're not going to go from positive to negative by subtracting something. Or sorry, from negative to positive by subtracting something, right? So you have to add 6. -1 plus 6 is +5. Let's see if that proves true for every single one. -5 plus 6 should be 1, and it is. -5 plus 6 should be 1, and it is. -1 plus 6 should be 5, and it is. So this part is good. This part is y plus 6. Why is it y? Because we're looking at the second numbers. Remember, we're comparing the y part of this coordinate set. And for the x part, we compared solely the first numbers, the x parts of the coordinate set. Okay? This is why I gave you that first video, is it's essential to learning how to do this part, which is usually the harder part. Okay? So let's rewrite it over here as something a little more neat. It should be x plus 4, y plus 6. Okay? And how do you represent that, left or right? Okay, well, I see a +4, so that should be right 4. And this +6 should be up 6, because we're talking about y. Bloop. Okay? Alright? If you got that, congratulations. If you got some of that, but maybe not quite all of it, congratulations. You're getting closer. For these next ones, pause it and try it on your own. This is a good example of how I want your final answers to look like. I want them to look like this. Show me the algebraic representations, and show me if the right, up, left, down, whatever it may be, formula, okay? All right, let's work another one. Because remember, this is where all the confidence is at. Let me first set us up a few more graphs. It's taking up quite a bit of space. Alright, we're going to work smarter, not harder, and use exponential growth to our advantage. Okay. Before you know it, Math is your friend, especially when you figure out how to actually use it. Alright, here we go! Let's make our points. Let's do... and let's do... uh-oh. Those aren't the same size. Hopefully you saw. That couldn't have been in translation. I almost made two cubes that were not the same size, and that would not have been in translation, okay? Remember, they got to be the exact same size for it to be a translation. Now catch. If I did this, would it be a translation anymore? No, remember, they have to be the exact same order too. Okay, so let's do that. A, C, D, D. Okay? Alrighty. Now, who's going to be the prime? I'll make the right guy the prime. Bloop. Actually, no. I'll make the left guy the prime. Why not? Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay? So you know what that means. It means we started over here, and then we moved over here. Now, here's a fun little shortcut that you can do in your head. If you know that we started over here, okay, and we're moving over here, you can already say in your head, technically, that we're going to have to go up and to the left. We don't know how many yet, but you can tell. We've got to go up and to the left to get over here. What does that mean for your X and Y? Don't worry about how many. What does that mean for your X and Y, though? Okay, hopefully you said that means your X has got to go left, which means your X has got to be minus something. And hopefully you saw that that means your Y has got to be going up, which means it's got to be Y plus something, okay? We don't know what yet. We're still going to work it out algebraically because I want to show you the numbers way, because if you know the numbers way, everything else makes sense. All right? But hopefully you know this. You can tell this much just looking at it before you even touch numbers. All right? Fine. Let's get rid of all that. Let's go ahead and set up our grid. A, B, C, D. A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Pause me here if you have not, and have at it. Okay? If you have not paused me yet and getting ready to give answers, please make sure you are working this, as this the only way you get confidence. The only way you actually see results is working it yourself. Please pause me if you haven't already. All right, here we go. All right, so our first point should be at, looks like 1, -1. Okay? All right, our second point is going to be at 1. So we're going to go, or sorry, our second point, so for B, because we just did A, all right, let's do B. Our B point should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, -1, because it's at the same height. All right, our third point, which is right here, should be at the same width. So that's 1. And then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then our fourth point, D, should be at 5, the same width as B, and the same height as C, so -5. All right? And that's this bad boy here. Okay? All right. That's for our shape that is in the past. Let's do our shape that is in the future now. And we know that because of the prime markings. Okay? All right, so this point should be at, so our A prime should be at, let's see, ooh, I can still see, right? Okay, our prime marking should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left, so that's -6, and we should go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so up 5, okay? All right, Our b prime should be at the same height, so I already know it's going to be a 5 of y, and we're going to go to the left 1, 2. So negative 2. Alright, so negative 2, 5. Our c should be at the same height as, well, here, I'll just count it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I don't want y'all getting swept in that. Alright, so negative 6, and then we need to go up 1 right here. So that should be at negative 6, 1. And then our d should be at negative 2 and up 1, because we went over 1, 2, and then up 1. We're right here. Okay? Alrighty, now we are ready to do cool things. Alright? If you got it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. If not, pause here, rewind back, see if you can get this far before you move forward. Okay? Alright. Now, how do we go from a 1 to a negative 6? How do we do that? Because we're talking about the x value right now. So how in the world do we go from a positive 1 to a negative 6? Alright? Because remember, this means we were there first, and this is in the future. So we did go from a 1 to a negative 6. And remember, when you write these, to always do your first shape here on the left and your future shape on the right. That way you're comparing it in the right order, okay? You don't have to do it this way, but I think this is a nice organized way that is, if you write it out, you cannot get lost. Like, it's just too organized. Like, you can't mess it up. So fine. How do you go from a 1 to a negative 6? Hopefully you said you have to subtract, because you're not going to add to get there, okay? You got to subtract 7, okay? 1 minus 7 is negative 6, all right? So we have to do x minus 7. Let's check it for each one of these. Is 5 minus 7 negative 2? Yep. Is 1 minus 7 negative 6? Yep. Is 5 minus 7 negative 2? Yep. All right, then you know it. X minus 7 is the correct representation for your x value. Now, let's check your y value. How do you go from a negative 1 to a positive 5? Okay? How do you go from a negative 1 to a positive 5? All right? Hopefully you said, for starters, that you have to go plus something. And hopefully you said you have to go plus 6. So the y value, we think, we're going to check it, should be y plus 6. Okay? Let's find out. Is negative 1 plus 6 equal to positive 5? Yep. Negative 1 plus 6 is positive 5. Yep. Negative 5 plus 6 is positive 1. Yep. Negative 5 plus 6 is positive 1. Yep. Good to go. So your coordinate set for this pair then is, here, let me, x minus 7, comma, y plus 6. Okay? And let's go ahead and write the actual directions for that. It should be left 7, comma, up 6. Okay? That's it. Because remember, left means you're going negative, and up means you're going positive. And we're talking about up and down for y, and we talk about left and right for x. Got it? Alright, hopefully you got that one. At this point, you should be feeling decently good. If you're feeling kind of shaky still, it's fine. Come see us. Come see us. You don't have to do this alone. I'm just giving you something that you can do alone if you need to. Come see us if you need it. Come on, baby. And come see us even if you don't need it. First of all, we like helping people. We like seeing people. We like working problems with people. So come on with it. Alright, here we go. Work this one. Get ready to work it on your own, okay? Oh wait, why am I putting tick marks on all this? Hang on. Let me just make you your shape. Oh, let's do it in a different color. Okay. Alrighty, and then give me a second to label these for you. Alright, let's not do that. The color doesn't really do anything for us. Okay, let's get these labeled. Let's call this cap. And let's call this, you know, I don't know, what are we gonna call the second one? Let's call it, it doesn't matter. Let's just call it like a D, E, F. Okay. Oh wait, no, it can't be a different one. Sorry. Duh. Cap. Who's gonna be in the past this time? We'll let the left one be in the past this time. So this is Eric. Wait, no, I need to do that the other way. There you go. Don't y'all pause me yet. I'm trying to make up my mind. There you go. Alrighty, go ahead and pause there, and try working it, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and build the next problem while you have me paused. So go ahead and pause here, because we're gonna do one more after this, and then we will be done. Okay, so go ahead and pause it and give it a work. Alright, here we go. If you haven't paused me yet, I'm getting ready to give answers, so make sure you pause. Alright, here we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is set up my one that was the original one. That's this. We know that because there is no prime marking on it. So let's go ahead and write out our CAP, cap. And then let's do our CAP, cap, in the future. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, now let's get our points. For our first C, we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So this should be 5, 4. Then for our A, we should be at 1, 1, and our P, we should be at 5, 1. Okay? All right. For our C prime, we should be 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So that's -4, and we should go down 1, 2, 3. So it's down 3, so -3. Let's go and get this bad boy out the way. Okay. Now let's do our A. Our A is square in the middle, our A prime. So let's go 0, 0. And then our P is right on the y-axis, so it should be 0, and then we go down 1, 2, 3. So -3. All right. Okay, let's get our formula. How in the world do we go from 5 to a -4 on the x-axis? How do we do that? All right. Hopefully you already found that we have to move to the left, or rather we have to subtract. So this should be x minus 9. We have to move to the left 9 units. And take a look. This makes sense if you remember what I told you in the previous video. We started here and we're moving this way to the left and then down. So our x should be minus something, and it is minus something. These little things can help you feel more confident about your answers, okay? Now, let's check it for each one, because I'm a big believer in checking. It just can't hurt. X minus 9 is what we claim, so 5 minus 9 is -4, yep. 1 minus 9 is 0. No way, Jose. So I have done something hunky here. Okay? Take a look and see if you can find where I've made my boo-boo. Do you see it? These points are labeled wrong. This says C at the top and this says C at the bottom. That's impossible. Okay? Now, did I mean to do that? No. I hope some of you caught it at the start, though, and said, wait, Mike, that's not a translation. The points aren't in the same spot. This isn't technically a translation, guys. Okay? So good. Notice how, though, if you check your work, you can catch mistakes. Check your work. This is an authentic mistake that I didn't mean to make. Now, instead of us reworking all of this, I'm literally just going to move the letters around. So here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put, here, let's do it in the right color. I'm going to put C prime over here and A prime over here, okay? Since I swapped C and A on the prime, let me go ahead and do it over here. okay? I tell you what, let's do it like this. Hang on. Because I have an iPad, I can just, you know, literally move entire things around. Oh wait, actually here, it's just the numbers I need to move, right? Ooh. All right. Now let's compare it. How do you go from a... Now, wait, before we go ahead, let's double check. So now our C, which is right here, our C prime should be at 0, 0. That makes sense. Our A prime should be at the -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Yep, that makes sense. And our P stayed in the same spot. Okay, now we got it corrected. Those of you who caught it on the first go, bonus points to you. All right? Because, yeah, that was not a translation at the start, okay? All right, so fine. How do we go from 5 to 0? How do you go from 5 to 0? All right? Hopefully you saw that you have to go -5. And guess what? In a minute, we're going to check our work. And our work is going to prove. Our work is going to do all the talking. Notice that even I, a veteran at this, can still make a mistake. So fine. X minus 5. So 5 minus 5 is 0. Good. 1 minus 5 is -4. Good. 5 minus 5 is 0. Good. Notice how the math will tell you if you're right. You don't need an opinion. You don't need a teacher. Let the math tell you. All right, good. Now, let's go from 4 to 0 for the y. How do you go from a 4 to a 0? Hopefully you know you don't have to add it, you have to subtract it. So we go -4. Y minus 4. All right, so fine. Let's do it. Let's double check our work. 4 minus 4 is 0. Good. 1 minus 4 is -3. Good. 1 minus 4 is -3. Good. This is our formula then, guys. X minus 5, comma, y minus 4. Which means you go left 5, down 4. And does that make sense? Let's take a look. Does that make sense? Does that answer make sense? You started here, and you went to the left, and then you went down. Left, then down. Ta-da! Okay? Great job. All right? One more, and then we're going to call it for this video, because it's approaching an hour. But it is thorough, and I think it will help you understand the others a little faster, too. All right, here we go. One more. You work this one on your own, please. Okay? If you haven't worked one on your own yet, you need to work at least this on your own. Hopefully you've been working all these on your own, though. Or all the ones I've asked for, at least. All right, here we go. Alrighty, let's get these filled in a little bit better, because I'm kind of big on aesthetics. Is it necessary? No, but, you know, whatever. It looked nice. Like, it doesn't have to be necessary. Y'all know who you're dealing with. There's a smiley face on my door. Hello? Alright, here we go. So, let's label this one, lamp. And let's label this one in the exact same order. And we already know it's the same size because y'all watched me count it. So this is a translation, okay? Let's put this in the exact same order. And, all right, here is your final problem for this video. Okay, make sure you set up your stuff. And in a minute, you're going to want to pause me if you haven't already. Okay? go ahead and make some predictions. If this is the original one, and you know that because there's no prime, and you know this is the future one because it's got a prime on it, then you know it's going to be moving to the right and down. So your x should be plus, and your y should be minus. All right? But let's see what actually happens. Go ahead and pause me here and work on it. Final problem. Alrighty, here come the answers. If you haven't answered yet, go ahead and do it. Alright, here we go. For our first point, we should go over to the left. 1, 2, 3. So it should be negative 3, and then we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So this should be negative 3, 4. Then when we do A, this is going to be negative 3, and then up 1. And then for M, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. And we're going to go up 1. And then for P, we're going to go to the right 4, and then we need to go up, looks like 4. Or sorry, we're not going to go to the right 4, my bad. We're going to go to the right 5, because this is not a rectangle. Okay? All right. And now for L prime, we should be at, let's do a little something different here. For L prime, we should be at, that color is ugly though. It's not. Okay, let's go. It should be at 1, and then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we go over 1, and we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now notice I already made a mistake. I said positive 3. There should be a negative 3. Okay, cool. All right, if some of you caught that already, great job. All right, for this next one, I know 6 is good, or M is at the same level as A, so I'll go negative 6 for Y. And then I need to count how many we're going right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then P is only right one more, so that's 9. And you go down the same amount as L, so negative 3. All right, there are our points. But you know the deal. We're going to check all that. We're going to make sure it's right. Let's ask ourselves, how in the world did this thing change? So, let's do negative 3 to 1. How do you go from negative 3 to 1? How does that happen? Okay, you have to add something, right? So, you have to add x plus 4. All right? Let's check it. Is negative 3 plus 4 1? Yes. Is negative 3 plus 4 1? Yes. Is 4 plus 4 8? Yes. Is 5 plus 4 9? Yes. Boom. This one is approved. Good to go. Let's put it on down here. All right. And then let's start on the next one. How in the world do you go from 4 to negative 3? Okay, how do we do that? Hopefully look at it and go, you have to subtract a lot, and you do. Looks like you're going to have to subtract how much? Alright, hopefully you said minus 7. So this should be y minus 7. Alright, let's find out. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Yep. 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Yep. 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Yep. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Yep. All right. So that means our second equation should be, wish I kept my colors consistent here, y minus 7. So this should be x plus 4 and y minus 7. And let's have a look. That makes sense. We said we started here. We said we were going to have to go to the right, so our x should be plus, and that we would have to go down so that our y should be minus. And sure enough, it's exactly what we got. Let's write it in directions. Right 4, down 7. Okay? All right, guys. There you go. Plenty of practice problems. If you still have questions on any of this stuff, okay, come by and see us. Let's work some problems together. Let's help you out with this stuff. As you can tell, this took an hour for us to go through this, okay? There are still 3 other transformation types. So please do not wait to the day of the test to come see us. come see us as soon as you see this or as soon as you hear about this, which hopefully will be on Thursday, because we need to practice ASAP for you to truly be helped, okay? Friday, I got to take to prep the team, reset these rooms, tend to them, give them what they need so they can continue serving you the next week. So come see us on Thursday, because we won't be here to teach you on Friday. I'll be teaching them and getting them ready for the next week and giving them what they need. So come see us Thursday or Monday of the next week. Other than that, use these videos to practice at home. Very important. Very, very important. Practice builds the confidence, okay? Alrighty, that's all I got for you. If you will kindly like and subscribe and practice some more. Alright? Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if it is. And good job making this far, man. Give yourselves a round of applause. I'll see you in the next video where we will talk about the second transformation type. And but go ahead and give you a hint. Like, these are, you know, this was one of the hardest ones. So if you made it through this, you did fine, okay?